Rolling right now, and we are live, everybody. So yes, go ahead. Let me cut my phone off a second. Let me cut it down. Let me check this live feed on real quick. Yes, so we are. We rolling. So welcome Facebook Live. Welcome because this has also been on you. It's going YouTube Live as well. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to tell y'all that. It's on both of my Facebook page, but it's also on my YouTube channel, Your Voice, Your Reason. Welcome Facebook. Today my name is Kevin Hunt, and this is Your Voice, Your Reason, basically what Your Voice, Your Reason is. And I'm just paraphrasing, giving people a voice, an opportunity to talk about what they want to talk about, whatever they believe it in. And here on Your Voice, Your Reason, there's no talking points needed. This is just how you feel. This is just what you feel from your heart. So today we're gonna have a conversation about not only Senate Bill 24, Stand Your Ground bill, but we're gonna talk about other upcoming bills in Arkansas and Arkansas legislation that you all need to be aware of. And I have four people on here that's gonna be able to drop some nuggets, man. Gonna be able to share some stuff about it. Gonna be able to break down those bills. Gonna tell you a little bit of history about those bills, and gonna tell you why you need to be activated, motivated. You need to be calling your legislator, your representative, and whoever you may be. But this is what Your Voice, Your Reason do, is provide a platform for those relative topics, those current events, and everything that's going on. So today, I want to introduce y'all to Miss Gonzalez. Gonzalez is here on the show with us today too. Then we got our brother, Dr. Joseph A. Jones, and he was a guest, previous guest. He's been on here 2 times. Probably gonna use him again. Got our brother Scott Hamilton. Got our brother, and he probably gonna be on here again. Got our brother Edmund Davis. He was on here once before. He dropped them nuggets, and y'all want share. Right now, everybody share it on their page because it's gonna be some nuggets. It's gonna be something powerful. You're gonna be educated, motivated, and you should be ready at first thing in the morning, calling whoever you need to call to make sure that your voice is heard. So today, Ms. Gonzalez, tell us a little bit about you. Introduce yourself so the guests will know. Can we hear you? Can we hear you, Ms. Gonzalez? Introduce yourself. Can you hear us?
I can barely hear you. Today, I represent Centro de Apoyo Hispano, which is the community, Hispanic community all Southwest and around Arkansas.
All right. Thank you very much. Next person, Scott Hamilton. Introduce yourself. Tell the people a little bit about you.
Okay, Kevin, can you hear me okay?
Yes, hear you very well.
All right. Yeah, Scott Hamilton. I am the CEO of the Urban League of the State of Arkansas. And, Kevin, I appreciate what you're doing here because we, too, are doing what I think a lot of folks out here are doing and need to be doing and should be doing is talking about some of these bills that are being presented. They're being presented by folks that, for whatever reason, feel they are necessary. And I think it's good that we talk about what we're seeing, what people think about it. People need to comment. They need to read them. They need to understand them. They need to understand how they will impact them and their families and their loved ones and make a decision if these are bills that make sense. And if they do, call the legislature and tell them that you think they make sense. If you think they don't make sense, call the legislature and say, I don't think they make sense. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Brother Scott. And you have some questions, Facebook. Go ahead and drop your questions in the box, and we're gonna make sure that the guests be able to answer your question. Brother Edmund Davis, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Kevin Hunt, and to our esteemed persons here on this platform. My name is Edmund Davis. I am originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm a transplant Southerner, but I've been in the South for almost 25 years now, in higher ed in particular. And I'm the director of the Derek Olivier Research Institute for the Prevention of Violence at the campus of Arkansas Baptist College. And I'm also a professor of history at Arkansas Baptist College.
All right, thank you there, brother. He dropped some nuggets last week. I expect him to drop some. Dr. Joseph Jones, introduce yourself.
Dr. Joseph Jones, scholar, activist, citizen, president of Grounding Group, consulting group that focuses on social justice. looking forward to the conversation. Thank you again, Kevin, for opening up this platform so that we can have these critical conversations. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah. So there you go. Let's get into it. Starting off, Brother Davis, can you touch about the Senate Bill 24, Stand Your Ground, because people need to know what Senate Bill 24 means to them and what can actually happen. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about it real quick.
Yes, Kevin. And this Senate Bill, SB, when you look it up, it's SB 24. It was mentioned last year, not by the person who actually sponsored the bill now, which is a man named out of Maumelle. He's State Representative Mark Lowry. And I reached out to him several times to no avail about just trying to see his rationale behind why he supports this bill. And so it's flabbergasting why he mentions this bill on several notes. We know it's not original. We know that it's also in policy. It's policy in 26 other states, I believe 25 or 26. I think Arizona just recently cut it short, or was it Iowa? One of the two. I'm gonna go ahead and find out for our viewers which state has already turned back against that bill. And so historically speaking, we all have heard about what happened. We know what happened 8 years ago in Florida. And of course, just recently in 2017, and also recently last year, an African-American man was shot and killed. And of course, the perpetrator uses the Stand Your Ground bill, or his purpose behind that. And of course, he only sees 1 year in jail for killing another human being. And it's not just African-Americans, it's Hispanic Americans, it's Latino Americans, it's other ethnic minorities of color in this country who have become targets of this type of legislation. And so here in Arkansas, we already have issues with other proposed legislations and other legislations that are on record already that are similar to this already. We already have something like this. We don't need another one coming down the pike as it relates to the Senate Bill number 24. And what it does, in essence, for those that don't know, for those listening, for those watching, this is pretty much like a lynch bill, if you will. And I say that because when you look back between 1872 and 1968, the year Dr. King was assassinated, you had about 3,000 plus on record African-American males who were lynched. Okay. Now, this is pretty much a green light for a public lynching or even a private lynching. This gets people off the hook. And more than likely, those persons that are getting off the hook, those perpetrators, not all cases, but in most cases already, we've noticed that the person who is killed from the Stand Your Ground bill mostly have been African-American males and also Latino American males, but more specifically, African-American males have been victimized by this type of legislation, not just in Florida, but also in other states. And so for Arkansas to jump on that bandwagon in 2021, this late in the game, we all know it's a reaction to some other things that we'll talk about a little bit later. So again, when you're looking at this Stand Your Ground bill, it in essence says that if someone walks across my yard and I don't know who they are, it's almost given a green light to shoot them or to use deadly force. This minimizes all the way across the board. This minimizes personal responsibility, personal accountability. And of course, we all know that it doesn't fold well for not just, again, African Americans, it also folds in favor of people who don't look like us. And so we want to have that conversation. We've already had that conversation. Let's go ahead and let our legislators know. In this case, Mark Lowry, let him know, because he's the one who sponsored this bill. And there are 3 other people who are co-sponsors to this bill as well. And so I think it already passed the Senate and has to go to the House. I think that's right, Kevin.
Yeah.
So, definitely this is something that, throws out the area of accountability, personal accountability. And of course, we all know it's in unison with those issues as it relates to you driving down University. And I was telling my wife, every other month there's a gun show in Conway or in Arkansas. And it's not just here, it's in Harrison, Arkansas. There's gun shows all over the state. It seems like every other month, I kid you not, there's a gun show in 2020. you know. So there's a relationship there. And so most of the people going to these gun shows, because we've been a couple of times, we're the minority in the minority. So people who are stockpiling up these guns, we all know who they are. Getting back to what Dr. Jones said the last conversation, white nationalists. Okay, and you can't talk about white nationalists without talking about white supremacists. It's the same thing. Racism, it's the same thing. You can't kind of put those in different categories. They're all in the same category. The alt-right, it's the same category. Extremism, it's the same thing. So let's just call it for what it is instead of giving it fancy names and saying these are militia groups. No, these are racist groups. It's pretty much the same thing. And so they all, for the most part, support this SB 24, and that's something that we can't stand for.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. I want to say before you go ahead and say, Brother Davis, if somebody asks Rita Martin, say, can you drop their emails and number, because they want to make those calls and do those things that you suggest. Go ahead, brother.
No, I was just gonna compliment Professor Davis and try to put some clarity around this. Trayvon Martin, right? Trayvon Martin. The reason why George Zimmerman got off from killing Trayvon Martin was because of the Stand Your Ground law in Florida. So that's the clarity we need people to understand. And everybody knows, basically the killing of Trayvon Martin sparked a whole movement, Black Lives Matter, right? And so this is why we don't want this here in Arkansas, right? Mm-hmm. Because we don't want our sons or ourselves to be caught up in a place where we are actually executed, not by police, right? That's a whole nother issue, but by private citizens who fear that, their life is in danger and they're able to just take lives, take Black lives. Right. And there's something else I want to say that I think is very salient, specifically here in Arkansas. Arkansas is unique in the South in that it's the most whitest state in the South, right? So for those of us who are people of color who are here, and we know that Little Rock and to some extent Fayetteville are like blue dots in a Red Sea, right? And that a lot of these people who have these kind of positions who want to do these things, we're behind enemy lines, brothers and sisters. So we have to be mindful. So a bill like this can actually, it could be very damaging for those of us who are living in this state because we just don't have the numbers to protect ourselves. And so that's an important thing. So this is one of the reasons why we're pushing back, because we're recalling almost 7-8 years ago what happened with Trayvon Martin, and we don't want that happening here. We have enough issues to deal with. So I just wanted to compliment my brother and try to give an example of what real life consequence would be if this law were passed here in Arkansas.
Yeah, and I'm glad, before I go to Ms. Gonzalez, I want to ask either one of y'all ask questions. Give me an example. Again, I think you said it, but I want for our viewers to know this is your voice, your reason, where you get on here and just share your voice about things that's going on. So this is what this platform is about. Either one of y'all can give me an example of what an incident that could happen where it's perceived as a threat, and he can get off those charges. Give me an example of what perceived looked like to one of you all.
Okay. What happened to Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia is one just running down the street working out. As a person who used to run college track, just kind of running through a neighborhood, doesn't matter what neighborhood you're running through, but just the fact that you're a person of minority color in this country, ethnically speaking, and you're a big, imposing, threatening figure, so people say, just running across someone's yard or just running down the street. This young man was running down the street. Yes, he may have looked at a property that was under construction. There's no law against that. So to do that and have the people who shot him to not be apprehended for 26 days, I think he went, maybe 35 days before they were taken into custody. And so that's one example of that, just coming out of a Walmart, let's say a 24-hour Walmart late at night, and you brush up against somebody unintentionally. And that young man may have had, a wild hairdo or just kind of a hoodie on. And that person may have felt threatened by that to use deadly force, or the situation in Florida where the man who shot another young African-American man who was 31 years old that evidence was destroyed, and still yet he only gets a year, in jail. This was just mentioned last week. So these are just some of the cases that we're looking at, and others. We all know with this trickery, with this foolery, it can be real deceptive and real kind of, not to say sugar-coated, but you'll have issues and circumstances coming up that they'll find a new way to kind of have that be applicable to that situation with this stand your ground bill. And so definitely it's not it's not something we need here in Arkansas.
Ms. Gonzalez, so when we think about stand your ground, a lot of people, African Americans, we know we are one of the targets. But tell us how important that it is for the Hispanic community to push back on it. You see there?
To know about all those bills, and they put the direction the other way in order to don't let us know what's going on around. Can you hear me?
Say it again. I can hear it barely. Say it again for us, please. Can you hear me? We'll come back to Ms. Gonzalez.
I just have to be the last persons we know, because
I guess so. I'm saying, why is it important for the Hispanic community to push back on Senate Bill 24? Because I don't want them to think that they are covered under this bill, which they are in the same space as African Americans and all the other minorities. Can you hear me? Well, Ms. Gonzalez, we'll come back to you. Scott, you have something. You have an example. You have something to say about this bill, Senate Bill 24, stand your ground. Because what I'm hearing that, and for everybody to know, Senate Bill 24 may be coming up next Tuesday, and I think next Tuesday is February the 2nd. So Senate Bill 24 may be coming up February the 2nd. In the House committee to get voted on to go to the House to make it law. So we could be less than 10 days for this thing to become a law in the state of Arkansas. You have anything to say, Scott?
Yeah. Senate Bill 24, and the sponsor is actually Bob Ballinger. Bob Ballinger is the sponsor on this particular bill. Now, all these names were intermingled, so it don't matter. We're seeing them all kind of with some themes on these bills. But yeah, Senate Bill 24, that's something we, in my opinion, we don't need. I mean, Ed, I think you said it best, is that, it's inviting people to be vigilantes. It's inviting people to act upon actions that normally should be talked out, or someone should take the time to think before they respond with deadly force. But what we're doing now in Arkansas is saying, oh, it's okay if you in the Kroger parking lot and somebody walks up to you aggressively and you feel like you're being threatened and you shoot and kill them, and then you realize that they were coming up to tell you that somebody bumped into your car.
Mm-hmm.
Or you dropped your purse, and then you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then when the officer comes up, when you look at how stand your ground bills are written, it now has a scenario where that officer has some level of discretion to determine whether or not to take this to the next level, which would be, let's take you downtown. Let's investigate this a little deeper. If the officer comes up, or whoever comes to look at what happened there, that dead cat on the ground can't say nothing. But whatever you say might be the determining factor whether or not anything happens. Now, how is anybody like that? And one of the things, it certainly is a concern when we look at how these bills across the country. Now, a lot of defenders of the bill will say that 35 states already have stand your ground bills. Well, there was a whole bunch of states that thought slavery was right, and we changed that. So just because another state has enacted a bill or law or whatever doesn't make it right. It doesn't mean that we just have to follow suit, but that's what a lot of folks say. And, if that's kind of how people operate. But again, I think that we've got to really start to get people to think about what it is that we are encouraging or not that we're not discouraging. And again, that is looking at people as people, respecting folks, taking the time to realize you're dealing with another human, and that for us to put in rules that really, I'm not going to say encourage, but it does encourage you to take things to a higher level than one normally would. Every state that you've seen in the nation that has stand your ground bills, homicides have gone up. Crime has not changed. This has not shown in any state where it's discouraging crime, but it's showing that homicides have gone up. But what does that mean? That just because you got to stand your ground bill doesn't mean you're going to get away. You know, people can get lulled into a false sense of security, thinking that they can come, you know, have their side piece strapped on the side, feel like if they feel they're threatened at a level at which point they in the past may have decided to retreat, which in most cases you probably can, or talk things out, we pull out our weapons now, and we're feeling empowered to do so. But don't get tricked, because it don't always work. You might think stand your ground will protect you, but in a lot of cases, if you do legal research, a whole lot of folks are going to jail thinking that stand your ground was going to protect them, and it really didn't. So there's a lot more to this than on the surface. I think it's a lot of emotion. I think we're in an emotional time in our country, but I think it's greatly important that people stop for a moment and think about what it is that we're seeing coming out of the 93rd General Assembly and say, is that really what we want for Arkansas?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for sharing that. Ms.
I just
Gonzalez,
saw
if you have something, let me go back to Ms. Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez, do you have something to say?
Correct.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you hear me, Ms. Gonzalez?
Can you hear me,
Barely.
guys?
You breaking up a little bit. But when you get ready, Ms. Gonzalez, it's time on. I'm gonna let Brother Davis go ahead and
Can you
say
hear
something
me?
real quick. Okay, yes.
Hear you guys, hello.
I'm gonna let Brother Davis go ahead and say something. It was something fresh on the mind. Just come back on in, Ms. Gonzalez, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm gonna take what Attorney Scott just said and what Dr. Jones mentioned earlier, brought to my attention. Here in the South, getting back to what Joseph said, we are the only Southern state in this union, in the Deep South, if you will. Traditionally, Black people, whether it's in Alabama or Mississippi, there's more African Americans than European Americans. But in Arkansas, we're only about 16% of the state population. So that was an interesting point that he brought up. But also what Scott said about vigilanteism. Now we have a pot brewing where, if approved, this recipe of foolery, where you have the majority of people looking at the minority of people in that vigilante cloak and dagger type shield, you know, something that's interesting just to look at. You know, definitely you know, I want to use some negative expletives, but I'm not, because it's a public platform. But with vigilanteism mixed up with us being a minority within a minority group in the state, is definitely irresponsible on part of our legislative bodies. This is not a place in governance to have this SB 24. Nowhere, but especially in this situation we have here.
Yeah, and I thank you for that. Brother Jones, do you have anything else to add on to that? Why Mr. Gonzalez did it?
No, I mean, I think everything has been said about the bill. I mean, I think it's, I mean, not to be crass, it's a license to kill Black and brown people. There's no need for the bill here in Arkansas. So yeah, I mean, nothing more needs to be said about it. And Black and brown people and other folk need to stand up and say no to this. Just that simple.
And I guess I have been trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out what's the difference in the movement we had this summer and compare it to the movement that we should be having right now because of Stand Your Ground. Help me understand that, because it's still lives being taken, but this, it's still the same. It's still the same perpetrators. Like, let me understand the movement and the movement that we should be having right now.
Well, I mean, there are obvious contrasts. One, to my knowledge, I don't think that this issue has become a national issue, right? And so this is kind of a statewide fight that we're having. So that's one of them. Second thing is, you know, the death of George Floyd was an execution, right? And I think watching him die in those 8 minutes, like I said, really it tapped on the soul strings of people's humanity, right? And I think that's what kind of it was different down. But to your point, Kevin, it's the same kind of injustice, the exact same type of thing, because what we can see, not so much as a cop killing George Floyd, but also a vigilante. And that's why I bring back and I uplift Trayvon Martin's name, because that was the result of this law. So yes, people, but let me also say something, because I want to give a couple of shout outs to people today. Well, I want to give Scott a shout out. I saw the email you sent out about the bill and breaking it down. So shout out to Scott for doing that. I also want to give a shout out to Judge Reverend Wendell Griffin. He wrote a very scathing article this morning. If you haven't read it, go to his Facebook page and read it, where he talks about white Christian nationalism and its role in these bills. Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then lastly, I want to give my namesake, my brother, not related, but we have the same last name, Dr. Chris Young. If you saw today, he came out with him and somebody else. I forgot the other young lady's name. But as a nonprofit leader here, he came out and said, this is going to make the state look bad. So voices are coming out. Right? People are coming out and speaking out. Right. But, you know, the next phase has got to be national shame. Right? Like, how do we get to this place where people look at Arkansas and say, what the hell are y'all doing? Right? Why are y'all moving towards this, towards this bill? And so, our voices have to get louder, the critiques have to get sharper, and we have to keep pushing this movement and calling on not only the media to bring attention to this, but also let the legislators know that we're not letting up, right? That we are going to continue to keep raising our voices. And if we fail, then a critical conversation needs to be had in our communities around what we can do to make sure nothing like this happens. Mm-hmm. How can we make sure that our institutions that are serving us are empowered and we have a strategic agenda to be able to stop something like that? Because that's a critique of us in many ways, right? And we shouldn't be in these kind of reactionary mode. We should always be in a position of power. And right now, we're in the backseat. We're trying to make sure that this does not happen. And that's a lesson, if we have to learn, I think we should learn from and really start to look at our institutions and whether it's the churches, the Urban League, and NAACP, and all these other places, and say, okay, what can we do to make sure that we can support Scott? So when Scott comes to us and says, this is something we can mobilize, right, fast to be able to counteract this kind of thing. So, but that's a long way of answering the question. But that's just kind of my sense of what's different. But it's the same issue. It's just that it's a micro issue. It's not a macro issue. Does that make sense?
So, and thank you for sharing that too. And Scott, now that we have you on here, and we know Stand Your Ground is the elephant in the state of Arkansas right now. But what are some more bills that are just as detrimental to as Stand Your Ground? Maybe not physically, but in some type of form that we should be watching. We got to say we know about HB 1231 and HB 1218. But what is something else that's going on? And I want you and Ms. Gonzalez, y'all both know something to talk about this too, with all of us. What is something else that we should be watching that while we focus on Stand Your Ground, this line is up right up under the table on us, keeping us alive?
Yeah, Kevin, I'm glad. Dr. Jones, thank you for teeing that up. I knew you were going to go there. I'm out in the field. I didn't call it. All right. So let's talk about that, y'all, because this is in the Urban League. I'm going to tell you, we start looking at these bills. Of course, Stand Your Ground jumped out, Senate Bill 24. We started hearing about the 1619, somebody arguing with some historical rendition that someone wrote. I'm going to tell you, I don't care who wrote a history book. It ain't accurate. No history book is accurate. So It's somebody's interpretation or the level of study and of information that was available at the time that they put the document together, and that's what you got. So we're going to argue whether or not somebody's thoughts about history is wrong, but somebody else's history is right. It's all wrong. But let me talk to you about this, Kevin. I'm glad you said what you said. So we started looking at some other bills. We said, okay, we see Stand Your Ground. It's about the third the General Assembly that we've seen it. It's getting stronger and stronger, and it's very likely to pass. I will tell you that. It went to the Judiciary Committee the other day, and a good friend of all of ours, Tamara, did a wonderful job of talking about how dangerous and bad this is. And one of the sponsors said, my goodness, that's one of the best testimonies and well said. And I don't think he said articulate, but anyway, well said. And he still voted for it. Didn't sway him. And this young lady explained how dangerous this is to people. So we started looking at other stuff. And I'm going to tell you something, Kevin. There's some stuff out here that made my skin itch, crawl, my hair stand up. Senate Bill 59. Anybody familiar with that? It's all on my social media today. Senate Bill 59. I'm printing them all out here because I'm old, can't remember all this stuff no more. And that's all part of the design. Senate Bill 59. I'm going to give you a real short version of it. It basically says that if a gun is manufactured in the state of Arkansas, I did a little research, there's about 8 or 9 gun manufacturers right now, right here in Arkansas, including Sig Sauer, real nice gun. If a gun is made, this is the bill that's being proposed, Senate Bill 59, read it. If a gun is manufactured in the state of Arkansas, it will not be under federal jurisdiction.
Hold on.
I'm not making it. Here it is.
Hold on. Say
Senate
it
Bill
again.
59, right here. Bob
Say
Ballard.
it again, man,
Right
so we
here.
can really hear that. Because I don't think everybody heard that. And if
I
you,
want everybody to hear that. Go to
if y'all not speaking, mute your phone for me. Say that one more time for me, Scott, so Facebook can hear that. Because, and if y'all want to put it in the chat, put it in the chat too, so everybody can really understand what you just said. Because this sounds like some foolery, like Brother Davis would say.
Yeah, so we don't even need to talk about Stand Your Ground when we got stuff out here where literally, again, Senate Bill 59, sponsored by Senator Bob Ballinger, same one that's doing Senate Bill 24, Stand Your Ground, kind of in the gun space, says, again, if a firearm, a gun, is manufactured in the state of Arkansas, and right now there's over 8 companies that make guns, that it would not. Everybody go to mute, please. That it would that it would not be under federal guidelines, which means you could buy it at the Dollar General. You would not have to have a concealed carry. You would not have to get approved to carry a gun. You could be a felon and buy the gun. You could buy the gun anywhere you want, as long as it's made in Arkansas. And it says it's got to be stamped made in Arkansas. We want to be proud about it. But that's what it says. It also says that this gun, if you get pulled over by the police, basically, or whatever, this gun has no coverage by federal guidelines. If it's made in Arkansas, this gun is completely not subject to any federal guidelines whatsoever, so long as you got that gun or that firearm in the state of Arkansas. Read it. These are the things that are out there that are incredibly dangerous. And so when I said that the Urban League began to look at all of these bills, we start printing them out, we laid them on a big table, and we start seeing this theme where these gun laws and then the 1218 and 1231 kind of trying to limit what kind of history can be taught in our schools. You know, got one bill that's specifically targeting a young lady's work, 1619. We got another bill out here that says if a school or higher ed institution that receives any kind of state funding, if they teach any type of classes or have any things that are, and I'm paraphrasing, I mean, you got to read the bill, but if it's based on gender, race, sexuality, whatever, that you can't teach that. And if you do teach it, the legislature is saying that they can hold back 25% of that school district or that higher ed institution's funding. That's saying that the legislature now wants to step in and be able to define what our education system can teach. There's another one out here. It's called, it's House Bill 1223 called the Back to Blue Act. You can probably guess what it says. Same thing. It says that if any city, town, municipality decides that it wants to take a look at its police department and restructure it, and of course they use the word defund, but if the department says, you know what, we want to put a little more money over here in training or mental health, or maybe we want to move to a peace officer format or something different. This bill, what it says that if that city or municipality reduces the budget or the size of the force by 25%, no more state funding. So now the legislature is stepping into a space where it says, I want to be able to tell a city or municipality what it can and can't do. This is dangerous, because what's the next step? What's the next step? I mean, a lot of folks I know that we're talking about today talk about local control. Well, you sound like you're taking away local control. So again, you got to look at all these bills in totality. You lay them aside and you start to see a very disturbing theme. And that theme really shows kind of a little bit of control of what we're going to let our young folks get to learn by controlling the education. You can teach this, but you can't teach that, right? We're talking about, there's a whole bunch of militia bills out there too. There's militia bills out there that one of them changed a little bit, but initially the militia-based bill kind of suggested that a militia could have the same level of authority of law enforcement. Now they went back and changed it, said they were talking about the National Guard. Okay. There's another bill out there that says that a citizen, that if they could do some kind of heroic act, that the governor could give them a medal of accommodation that has typically been reserved for military folk. Well, what is that heroic act? Is that the one in the Kroger parking lot we're talking about? Where somebody ran up and scared somebody to death, shot them, got away with stand your ground, and somebody said, good job, because that person was probably going to kill everybody in Kroger. And they were trying to tell you that you dropped your purse. This is the dangerous thing. This is what happens when you start to lay these bills side by side. You see the pathway of what's being done. You see them individually. Yeah, you get frustrated, you get mad, but don't get diverted on just a single bill. You got to read, and every day there's stuff going on down at our Capitol. We have to be there. We have to be vocal. We have to call these folks. What the Urban League is doing, we're branded it under, is that defining Arkansas values. We hear that all the time. I hear it every morning on commercial. Arkansas values. I don't know what Arkansas values are. I know what mine are. I don't know what Arkansas values are. I live in Arkansas. My values are not Arkansas values. They're my values. So all of a sudden, Urban League is saying, how do we define Arkansas? Well, that's what we're doing right now. And so we're working on a virtual town hall probably sometime late next week. And we're going to be talking about all these bills. But more importantly, we're going to be talking about the process. We're going to be talking about what citizens can do, what businesses can do, what communities can do, what everybody can do. Because we don't have to sit back and accept things that we don't want. These folks work for us. We pay their salaries. Everybody out here pays these folks salaries. They work for us. Now, if we don't demand that our employees do what we want, then they do what they want. I run a small business every day. If I'm not down there, guess what? My employees have a good old time at my expense. But what I'm saying is that it's incredibly important that you get out here. You can get on the computer. You go to ARKLEG.state. You type that in, it'll pop right up. And I'm looking at it right now. As we talking, I'm printing off bills. And you can read these bills. Read them.
And Scott, drop that again. You say, where can they find that information? Or can you put it in the chat if you can?
I tell you what, somebody else, because if I touch my phone, it's probably going to die. You know,
I'm
about as technologically savvy as Fred Flintstone. It's ARKLEG, ARKLEG.state.us. And if you type that in, you will go straight to the Arkansas State Legislature, and right at the top, it has a spot where you can type in the House bill or Senate bill number, and the bills will pop right up. Print them out, read them. It's good reading. It's good education, but you need to understand how this works. That I was talking to someone today, and they said, well, if these get through, won't we get a chance to vote on them? No. We voted these folks, and that's why they call reps, because they represent us. And we have to tell them what we want or what we don't want. But if these get through the Senate, the House, and gets passed on the floor, these become law. Yeah. They become a law. Now, you can change them down the road. That's hard to change the law. But if they become law, they are law, and you've got to abide by them.
Yeah. Missing Gonzalez, did you hear that? Ms. Gonzalez, did you hear that? We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Man, Scott, that I'm just thinking about Senate Bill 59, House Bill 1223, and
I know how to
I'm
find it already, so I'm gonna share with the community and let it know that I'm gonna try to share this to the community and
your phone breaking up.
let us know what exactly is going on. The pandemic, they just think only the pandemic is part of the life, and they don't even know those bills coming out and they be used to approval. We don't. I mean,
That's right.
we all doesn't know. They try to pass many bills.
Yeah, Ms. Gonzalez is absolutely right. She's right too, and this is doubly dangerous. We are in the midst of a pandemic, and we're what, 2 weeks now in this session. We're 2 weeks. What you think we're gonna see in the next 20 days, 30 days? And the fact that we are in a pandemic, normally folks that would be down at the Capitol, including me, walking around the halls, finding these cats, pull them aside and say, hey, come here, let's talk about this a little bit. That's the way it has worked in the past. There's usually a lot of conversations that are going on in the halls of the Capitol. That's why it's a big building, right? And that is the way it's always worked. In the past, we've seen where Democrats, Republicans, I don't care what you are, could get along, have a conversation. They would listen to each other.
Oh yeah,
and they that anymore. And this whole pandemic space makes it doubly dangerous, but it also makes it easy because nobody is at the Capitol. So everybody out here, every citizen can do what we're talking about tonight. You can get on this computer. You can pull that bill now. If you ain't got one, go to the library. Somebody you know got a computer. Print these bills off. Understand what they mean. The sponsors are right there. You can click on their name. It will give you their phone number, their email address. Your job is to flood them with commentary. Send them an email. If you read one of these bills that you don't like, tell them. Tell them why. Tell them your personal story. If you see one, you're like, that's some good ones. Now, we ain't got to talk about all that. Some great bills out there. There was one that passed the other day that now allows school districts to give leftover food to a kid to take home. Before that wasn't even legal. School had to throw it away. That's a good bill. There's a lot of good stuff out there. So it's not all bad, but there's some stuff out here that we just need to be aware of. And as you said earlier, the Urban League is going to do, we're going to do our best job. And this is what I'm going to be, I'm preaching now. I'm going to keep preaching until I can't see straight. We need our people to do their job. Pandemic is actually making it easier because you ain't got to go to the Capitol. You can be sitting at home in your pajamas, get on your computer, on your phone, pull these things up, click the button that says Lowry, Stubblefield, whoever. It'll give you that information. Type a quick note to say, hey, this bill, this is what I think about it. Have you considered this? That's all you got to do. The more they get that, the more at some point they're going to stop and say, you know what, I better think about this.
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez, you have something to say? Because I'm sure all of us can unpack what Scott had just talked about. Well, hold on, Mr. Gonzalez. I've actually got you on mute. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this thing off mute. Or do you have it on mute? Oh, you muted yourself, Ms. Gonzalez, so you have to unmute yourself. Okay, there you go. We can hear you now. You muted yourself again. You muted yourself, Ms. Gonzalez. But okay, there you go.
Come on. Okay,
we can hear you now. Right? We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say that I'm gonna share all the bills. I'm gonna translate for my community and because many of the Hispanic Latino community doesn't know exists the bills, how that I pass it, who votes for those bills. So we need to know, let know my community what's going on around all this pandemic and really back with the pandemic.
Your phone breaking in and out.
What's the governor doing? What the in front of us? Only the pandemic thing has happened. They don't show us what is going on in the.
Your phone was going in. Are we losing your signal?
Translate most of the bills. The most important bill
Yeah, Ms. Gonzalez, we losing you. You going in and out a little bit, so you breaking up a lot. But yeah, I totally get what you said. You said, Brother Scott, can just tell us, Brother Scott, tell us exactly what we should be doing. Like I heard you say that, and I want everybody to talk about, because everybody needs to know. You know, we got a lot of soldiers out here. They just need some guidance. What should we be doing? What organization we should be in? And what should we be using? How should we be using our social media page to mobilize everybody during this pandemic? And that's
great.
everybody.
Yeah, Kevin, great. You can come to the Urban League website and you can see the bills I'm talking about. It's ulark.org, ulark.org. Come to our website. It's right on the front page. You will see a list of the bills, the bill numbers. We'll probably start actually printing the bills out so you can see them there. But when you see that bill number, it's either going to say HB like 59 or SB 1218. HB is your House. SB is the Senate. You got two sides of the legislature. We don't need an education on that tonight. We'll do that later. Yeah. What you need to do is look at these bills. When you read them, a lot of times the titles don't say what they say. You got to read them. And but what we'll be trying to do at the Urban League is point out, you will see a little Arkansas logo, and it's going to say legislation to watch. Those are the ones that we think are important for Arkansans to pay attention to. We're not telling you what stand to take. We're not telling you to be for or against it. That's not our place. Our place is to educate you. And so when we see things that we think Arkansans ought to be thinking about, we're going to put them out there. Doesn't mean that we're for or against it. So let's make that clear. When you see that, then go to that website, which will also be on our website page. It's arkleg.state. If you type that into your browser, it'll take you right to the Arkansas legislature. At that point, you can type in the HB and the number, or the SB and the number, and it'll give you a PDF. Click on it, you can read the bill. Now, when you read that bill, look at it and see what it says to you. What you will see in these bills is that you'll see a lot of words that will either be clear. If there's a strike through in it, that means they're eliminating that language. If it's underlined, that's new language. That's what you want to look at. Strike through, underline. Strike through means they're getting rid of this language. Underline means they're adding this language. That means there's a change. And that's what you want to pay attention to. What is it that our legislators are proposing to change to become a new law that we'll all be held accountable to?
That's going to be helpful.
So once you do that, then you need to decide if you want to comment. And I encourage everybody to comment. If you say, hey, I think this is a wonderful bill, I'm excited for it, thank you for putting this out there, send it to them. They need to know that. If you see something that concerns you, say, I'm concerned about this bill, this makes me feel this way, send it to them. They need to know that. You don't have to be able to write a perfect essay. I'm sorry, Dr. Jones. You can say it as best you can. You can be eloquent or say, I don't like this. It's all the same, because what happens is these legislators, or more importantly, their staff, they read this stuff and they're sitting there counting 4, 4, 4, against, 4, against. They pay attention to that. What we also need to do is get our churches. We need to get our businesses, where you work. Now, you got to be careful at work, because, talking politics ain't a good thing always. But you need to make sure that our business community, your pastors know about it, your friends, anybody that you read something that concerns you, talk about it. If you see something that's concerning you, share it with your family and friends, because they too need to understand the more people that are interactive with our legislators and provide comments, they begin to recognize, okay, people are paying attention. If we don't pay attention, they do what they want, and guess what? We get what they give.
Yep. Thank you for sharing that too. And I want to say, this is your voice, your reason, where you can have this platform for just like the people on here to come up here and say what they know to be true, and no talking points is needed. Nobody got no notes looking at it. This is what they know about. And I want to shout out to thank you for everybody that's watching. Tracy Shine, I guess she's just been so focused. Javier Howard, and my wife, of course, and Sharita Martin, and everybody, and got my good friend, my old mayor from Camden, Arkansas. So Camden, Arkansas, y'all got a mayor that's down there that's focused on everything that's going on around here. He want to make sure these people stay informed. Appreciate you to leave it. Everybody that's on here just coming and making comments and saying, voicing their opinion. We appreciate you all for coming on here. But Dr. Jones, I know you got something to share with us, man. Drop it to it. Give it to it.
I'm thinking through everything that Scott has just said and our last conversation and just this last month in the country. And we need to provide an analysis of this moment, right? And where we're at here in Arkansas, right? We got to be able to put these pieces together, right? So what happened at the Capitol a few weeks ago, right? The guy that was sitting on Nancy Pelosi's desk was from Arkansas. Piece number one, right? Then we began to start to see these bills coming out about being able to use your gun to shoot people, right? Changing curriculum that doesn't talk about anything with regards to race, class, or gender, right? Then we're seeing, Scott has told us today, this is brand new news for me, SB 9, you know, this, we have got to be able to put this together. I am afraid for Black and brown people in this state, because if you could see what I see, you would see that there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to happen over these next few years in this state. The political fault lines are clear, right? All these bills are the ramifications of Donald Trump and the divisiveness that he has caused in this country. And the sad part about it is that even though he's still not in office, the things that he was perpetuating is still living on.
Oh, man.
He has been able to, he opened the floodgate, because you can't convince me that these people who are championing these bills didn't hold these beliefs 10 years ago, right? You can't convince me of that. I think that what Donald Trump has been, what he did was just give license for everybody to just, you know, basically open up and do whatever they want to do and just expose their biases. And so now we're in a moment where no one is no longer afraid to be racist. No one is ashamed of being immoral or unethical. And this is a dangerous time. Nobody is even agreeing to facts. You just make them up, right? You got to put all these pieces together, right? To be able to see the picture of where we are here in Arkansas and where this country is going. And I'm not a doom and gloom kind of person, but I'm telling you that things are going to get bad. And one of the things that we have got to do, yeah, we can contact them, but we got to be real about this. There's very little power that Black and brown people have in this state. In certain spaces we have, but the question is, what happens the day after, right? What are we doing right now to support each other, right? How many conversations are happening with Latinx people, with Black and brown people around how we can support one another, right? You know, and so these are the things that we can control. These are the things that we can do. We can support Scott. We can support other people, and we can have these spaces where we can protect ourselves and we can support ourselves and we can teach and tell the truth without consequence. That's a conversation I want to be involved with, right? That's the conversation I want to be a part of, because the end game to this is that probably most of these bills are probably going to be passed. Let's just be honest. They're just no numbers. They're going to be passed unless something dramatically happens. I just don't have a whole lot of hope that a lot of these things are just going to go away based on our voices. So what then? Right? So what then? And so what we can do right now is begin to start having these conversations. Yes, we keep fighting. Yes, we keep, raising our voices because we need to. We need to let people know that this is not right. But we also need to take time to take care of ourselves. And once this is gone, not just turn a blind eye, because trouble is a-coming. I'm telling you, it's coming. And we've got to have our antennas up, and we've got to bond together as a community like no other time, right? I'm telling you, this is what we can do as communities. And it's going to take every last one of our leaders. It's going to take pastors and everybody else, civic groups to come together, get over your petty beefs and squabbles, because I'm telling you, Christian white nationalism is here. And it's not going away. And it's coming in the name of Jesus, like it did a few weeks ago. There were crosses out there. Y'all see that?
Yeah.
People they prayed before they attacked the Capitol.
Hold on one second, Dr. Jones. Say it again.
Prayed before they attacked the Capitol. So all these things are aligned. You got to be able to pull these things together, right? And be mindful of these things that are happening. Just understand that we have got to do something within our community to protect ourselves. I'm sorry, Kevin, I went off on a tangent.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Dr. Jones, I got two things. Dr. Jones, also, I saw it. If you haven't got the Democrat Gazette today, Dr. Jones wrote a piece in the editorial opinion section today. It was powerful. If you haven't read it today, I read it. It's powerful. You need to go read it. But here's another thing. When Stand Your Ground bill was first presented in the Senate, I saw Senator Ballinger get on TV and he talked as if he was so confident that it was after it passed out the committee that he knew it was going to pass out the Senate. So if he was confident about it was going to pass out the Senate, just think about how confident he is going to pass about the House. The more to the story is he has strategized the day that it passed in the last session. So we got to do more strategizing today for the next 2 to 3 more years. Somebody said, tell me something about that.
You know, and I say this straight up and let somebody else know, but
no, go ahead.
I want people to put on their calendars February 12th. There's a movie coming out called Judas and the Black Messiah. It's a story about Fred Hampton Jr., who was a Black Panther Party leader in Chicago, killed at the age of 21 by the Chicago Police Department and the FBI. Now, why do I bring up Fred Hampton? You talk about what we can do and everything. Fred Hampton had the gift because he was clear that what was happening in Chicago at that time, that the Black Panther Party could not do it alone. So he created this thing called the Rainbow Coalition, where he had white people, right? Where he had Latinos, right? We had all these people under a banner of saying, we want the end of oppression and we want things for our people, like jobs and housing. He was able to pull all these people together around issues, around morality, around ethics, right? So there's been a model. Now, because of this, he was killed, because J. Edgar Hoover wanted him dead. He died at 21 years old, shot to death next to his pregnant girlfriend, right? And I tell my students all the time, like, we think the government has something to do with the killing of Martin Luther King, and we think the government has something to do with Malcolm X. We know for a fact that the FBI and the Chicago Police Department killed that man 21 years old because he understood that bringing people together across racial and ethnic backgrounds was going to be the way to liberate everybody, right? And that is the kind of mindset we have got to have. We've got to have a liberation mindset, right? And it's beyond just Black. We've got to find white brothers and sisters who are willing to fight in this fight, who are willing to be anti-racist, right? To be able to dismantle these systems of oppression. And as brothers, we have got to check our patriarchy, and we've got to be able to bring sisters into the fold. Like, all of us can do these things. There are models. We have to be able to bring people together to be able to do this. And so talk about what we can do. We can do that if there are people willing to come together. And please watch that movie. Please watch that movie. February 12th, Judas and the Black Messiah. I never in my life thought a movie would be made about Fred Hampton. I don't know how it got made, but please watch it, everybody out there. Sorry, go ahead.
Drop it in the conversation piece so people can know where to go get it and when the women are watching and everything. Brother Davis, here's a question, Brother Davis. You with me?
Yes, sir.
We're talking about gun laws and gun rights. And I said something to you the other day about I'm saying that we should go get our gun rights. But you said I think it was you, maybe been both of y'all. You said something, not only go get your gun rights, but when you go and get your gun rights, what else do you need to be working on?
Definitely. And great points. I want to go back to what Scott said, and also what
go ahead.
Said. Those are great points. I learned a whole lot about that line that goes through those legislative pieces and the one that's underlined. So thank you, Scott, for shedding that light on that for me. I really appreciate that. And that movie, Joseph, definitely I'm going to go check it out. And he at 21 years old, we all know that was set up from the get-go, definitely. But getting back to addressing what you should do after you pass your background check as far as getting your official license to carry certified firearms, go to the range. Make sure that you know how to use them and look at some tutorials on how to use them, because a lot of people get their license to carry, but they don't know how to carry. You know, they don't know anything about what side to hold it on, or they don't go to the range and shoot and practice. You have to do these things, create scenarios in your head for your family. These should be requirements for anyone who has a family, or you don't even have to have a family. You could be a single man with no children. You still should know how to not just defend yourself here and with your heart, but also, you know, from the standpoint of firearms. You know, I'm not saying go out and buy 24 AK-47s or Uzi 9mm automatics. I'm just saying, if you do go out, which I advocate you do from a legal standpoint, you know, to exercise your right from a democratic standpoint, do that. But also know something about how to load a clip, you know how to keep your weapons clean. And of course, going to the range. And it's always smart to do that. And of course, also be competent with your body language when you're stopped by law officers. We all know what happened to the man. I forgot his name in Minneapolis. He had a license to carry, and he, you know, made a body movement and he got shot, you know. So we have to be also competent from a cultural standpoint as it relates to LEOs, as I call them, law enforcement officers. So, but definitely, like Joseph said, like Dr. Jones said, we're at a precipice, a moment, and it's sad. It's obesely sad, but at the end of the day, especially in Arkansas, and again, this is a, you know, pretty much we have to look in the mirror and say, okay, what are we doing? Not just to protect ourselves, but to protect our elders as well and our children. And so it's important, you know, moving forward. And it's one of those things that you need to have as a SAT, which is a safety advocacy tip. When I think about SATs, it ain't just a scholastic aptitude test. The SATs for African Americans and Hispanic Americans, Latino Americans, the SATs are safety advocacy tips. You need to find out what your SATs are from that standpoint in the 21st century. And again, not to knock off what Dr. Jones has said, it ain't all doom and gloom. It's empowerment. It's being prepared. You know, of course, we all know in our culture, a lot of us don't have wills. Not just people in our tax brackets, but also stars, African American stars. When they die, it's always a squabble about this and who gets that because they don't have wills. So in this case, not just with wills, but we also need to know how to use firearms from a respectful, tasteful, tactful standpoint and do it legally speaking. I think that's one of the big things we need to all learn, to go out there and exercise your rights according to the Constitution, that amendment right, to be able to use it and do it appropriately.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And Doretta Nelson said on the chat, she said, know what firearms work for you. Ms. Gonzalez, we've been mentioning it a little bit, but go ahead. What's on your mind? Because I know you have some things to share with us about this. Go ahead and share it with us. Can you hear Ms. Gonzalez?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. I know you've been listening, but I know you have a lot to say about this. Go ahead and share what's on your mind about all of this.
Well, first of all, I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned about and worry about they can buy pretty easily weapons. It's going to be a risk for our community, which is the minority here in Arkansas. As you guys, those 15 years and 18 years old, thanks to the guns. And it was, maybe they're using guns in home. It's a lot of guns in Hispanic Latino houses, and it's because it's pretty easy to get it. So just imagine if they pass this bill, it's going to be more fatality lives that we're going to lose this year.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, Ms. Gonzalez.
But I said I'm going to try to share the bills because many of the Hispanic community doesn't know what's going on around.
And that's what organizations like Scott is for, because it's the Urban League. It ain't the Black Urban League, it's the Urban League for Arkansas. So you need the Spanish people, Spanish community, and the Urban League to do some more partnerships so we all can be informed. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, Kevin, and Ms. Gonzalez, I'm glad you said that. You know, we've got an ongoing partnership with Arkansas United, and I'm going to make sure that we have some conversations tomorrow to make sure that we get some good translation going on these bills so that our Latinx community and our Spanish-speaking brothers and sisters can understand what's going on, because you're right, that's incredibly important. Going back to Senate Bill 59, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Let's say this thing passes, and let's say it survives only 1 year. Do you know how many guns can get into the hands of people in Arkansas in a year? Do you realize, again,
And I will
this
talk
bill
to
says
my
that, yeah, if this bill passes, this means
if they
that
made in Arkansas,
anybody
anybody
can
can
buy
buy it.
anybody, exactly. I mean, the way I read it, a 14-year-old could go get a gun, because it clearly states that no federal laws, gun
Yes.
laws, can supersede what the Arkansas has put into legislature and bill. And it specifically says that nobody can come up and ask you about your weapon. A law enforcement officer, LEO, I like that, cannot question you, because all you got to do is pick up your firearm and say, hey, look, it's made in Arkansas. Now, some of us can't do that because we pick up our firearm. It'd be the last thing we did. But at the end of the day, maybe you need to have a sticker in the back of your car that says my firearm was made in Arkansas. Leave me alone. But, you know, I say that in jest. We've got to make sure we pay attention to this. You make a good point, too, is that, you know, the Urban League is about Arkansans. We're not looking at this from a race thing. And a lot of what we've talked about here, if you read through these bills, yeah, you see race in it. But this is also about green. When you talk about Arkansas being at the bottom of the list in almost any stat that you come up with, how do we think we can attract folks and businesses to a state when they begin to look at laws and bills that are coming out like this, and they're saying, well, dang, do I really want to open a business there? Do I really want to try to have employees move from wherever to Arkansas? Look at this stuff. Businesses look at this. And so this is not just a race issue. This is not just an issue about the safety of citizens, but it's also about business. So you can come at this any way you want. So when you reach out to these legislators,
it's in
they
general.
need to think about that. They need to think about the fact that what they're doing will determine whether or not this state will continue to grow economically. And that's incredibly important if any of us want to continue to live in this state.
Correct.
Thank you for that. Go ahead, Ms. Gonzalez.
Correct.
Go ahead, Ms. Gonzalez.
I'm here.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, you're right. I mean, I'm agree with you guys. I think what we need to do is split up the ward, get together, because that's not going to affect only one race. It affects the whole community. And when I say the whole community, it don't matter what color or what race or religion. Those bills is going to affect the whole entire state and parts of the state of Arkansas. It's too bad and it's too sad that many states they already passed those bills, and it's hard to believe how they do that and why they do that for. They just looking for excuses in order to put more weapons in hands of our child. That's basically what they want. They want to create small soul killing each other in order to let us don't gonna happen. I mean, this is together. We can always stop these bills, making calls to the senators, let them know, send letters, make a calls. We can always do that together.
Yeah, and I want to say this. I really appreciate you all being on here, because through all these comments and all these people are really. I don't know if y'all understand the impact of the conversation that y'all are having with everybody that's on this Zoom. They've been sharing it with their friends and family, and you are informing them. And I pray and hope you are motivating them. And I have this conversation. I didn't want to keep y'all on too long, but for these next 10 minutes, I guess, between all of y'all, I want you all, because I respect your time, I want you all to kind of talk about just this is your moment right here. Share whatever's on your heart and because we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up because I respect y'all time. But share what's on your heart. I want to start with Ms. Gonzalez. Just share what's on your heart about all of this, what's going on, whatever you feel like you want to share about this. Can you hear Ms. Gonzalez? Well, we'll come back to Ms. Gonzalez. So any one of y'all want to come on, chime in, and just give us something, man? Y'all been dropping those nuggets all
But
day.
it hurts because it looks like they keep ignoring the Latino community. They didn't let us know what's going on, and it's because they didn't let us know. It's because we really don't read.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Brother Hamilton, man, say you putting in some work. You leading a powerful organization. It's a national organization. Give us something. What just even like what you're doing, where we need to find you at. Just whatever you feel like sharing. Give us something.
Well, and I'll be brief because I know I've dominated a lot of this space here. But Kevin, it's what you and I talked about last night. It's what you're doing right now. You said, you know what, this is on my heart. This is something I want to do. You cobbled together a podcast. You done gone up to the high level StreamYard. I mean, you're just doing this. This is what it's about. I'm looking out on Facebook. It's people watching. They're having conversation. And this is just my buddy, Kevin Hunt. I mean, this costs us an hour, right? I mean, I got my drink right here. I'm good. But what I'm saying to you is that this is all it takes. This is not, you don't have to be an elected official. You don't have to be, quote, somebody special or big. You can be just you and step out there. Everybody you talk to, hey, man, hey, have you heard about this bill? No, I ain't heard nothing about it. A conversation at the corner on Facebook while you're on social media. Spend 10 minutes of social media time talking about some of this stuff. Then people hear about it. And then you educate. Like tonight, we talked about how you can reach out to the legislature. I mean, it's simple. Go to that website, arkleg.state, arkleg.state. Go there. You can click on it's fascinating. You can go there. You can click on the name of our representatives, and you'll see all the bills that they sponsored, all the bills that they co-sponsored, and you'll start to learn something about these folks. And these are people that you might start to say, hey, I want to follow this person, just like social media. You follow all the stars and the rap stars and the movie stars. Follow your legislators. You know, be engaged with them. Know what they're doing, because guess what? At the end of the day, they're more likely to impact your life than 2 Chainz. I don't know if 2 Chainz still around, but anyway, what I'm saying is that it's important that you get active at your level. You don't have to wait till you graduated from kindergarten to feel like that you got to be able to talk about a bill. You can do it right now. And when you do that, people start paying attention. And what Ms. Gonzalez said is exactly right, is that we got to make sure that everybody's included. So that's our role. We need to make sure that our Spanish-speaking folks understand this. So I got a whole list of friends, Ms. Gonzalez, I'm calling in the morning and say, hey, I need y'all to help me translate this bill because I need to make sure everybody out here understands. And that's just me. So if each of us does that, if each of us said, I'm going to tell 10 people tomorrow, 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. 1,000 times 10 is 10,000. We covered the state in about a week. And so, again, that's how you make change. It's real simple. It don't cost you no money. All you got to do is get out there, be aware, say these things are going on. People get active, understand what's happening, chime in, talk about it on social media, talk about it on the radio, talk about it on the street, send communications via email and our phone calls to these legislators because they do pay attention to it. And the more calls they get, the more you can start to swing them in a direction that you might want. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, brother. That was powerful too. Thank you for that. Either one of y'all, Brother Evan?
Sure. I definitely co-sign what Scott just mentioned. And to thank you, Kevin, for also inviting me and others onto this so desperately needed podcast. But I want to touch on this as I close out because I got to go here in a minute. For us to be bridge builders, to be agents of change, you know, we're all pretty much Generation X, most of us here on this podcast. Now, our sons, our children are probably young millennials or Generation Z. Now, what I've done in the past is I've let my college students go to City Hall and sit on board meetings. They run the show. They go down there 30 men deep to sit in those board meetings. And again, educate them with experience, educate them with detail. So I think that you're doing the right thing. We're all doing the right thing. But again, let's be transgressors in terms of reaching out to these young folks and letting them know this is what you need to do and do it moving forward. I think that's important. And I just have to say that, you know, we got some troubling times ahead of us, but also we have to prep and prepare these young people in their late teens and early 20s. We have to prepare them now to take over. You know, oftentimes we look at legislators now, for the most part, the average age is 58 years old, you know, around the country in both parties. So there's like a millennial mix that's not in place or in position. We have to groom them and help show them from the grassroots level, from the grassroots position. Again, getting back to what Scott said, you don't have to be in the office and have a big old title. You know, you can be doing things in this era of COVID with smart devices and harnessing, getting attention and getting things done from that standpoint. And so, again, I think that's what we're doing. But again, we have to get younger people involved, you know. And again, this is no slight to the city board of directors. I think the average age is 65 here in Little Rock. Of course, Antoine's on board. That makes it a little bit younger. But the last, you know, 25, 30 years, the average age has been about 68 years old. But the average age of Little Rock is 35.2 years old. All 200,000 people here in the city. So we have to keep that in mind. That's millennial. So again, we have to reach out to our young people, get them involved, plug them in, school, train them, and let them see for themselves. And getting back to that legislative website, that's one resource that we can use moving forward. But thank you, Scott, and thank you, Dr. Johnson, and thank you, Soraya, and thank you, Kevin. I have to go on out of here, man. But this has been a blessed opportunity to go ahead and let people know what's going on.
Before you leave, Brother Davis, how can somebody get in contact with you?
Sure. Y'all can reach me via email. My email address is edmondwdavis@gmail.com. Again, EDMONDW Davis, DAVIS @gmail.com. Or you can call me at the Dory Building, which is at the campus of Arkansas Baptist College. That number is 501-420-1312. Again, 501-420-1312.
Thank you, brother. And we'll see you, man. I'll be back in touch. You know, this ain't gonna be your last time on here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, gentlemen. All right, Soraya.
Dr. Jones, the floor is yours, brother.
I'll be real quick. You know, in these situations, I look to my elders, right? And I said this earlier, and I want everybody out here who's listening, go to Judge Griffin's Facebook page and read his piece on Christian white nationalism, because that's another big piece to help you understand about why these things are actually happening. Because we as Black folks, I know we're spiritual people, we're godly people, and sometimes we separate our politics from our spirituality, right? And we've got to do a little better job of bringing those close together, because as I said earlier, the attack on the Capitol, they prayed before they attacked in the name of Jesus, right? So how is the same God that I serve actually aligned with? No, it's a contradiction, and we got to have those critical conversations around making the delineation between, you know, what Jesus's ministry really is and how it's being exploited to perpetuate the devil's agenda. Okay, and so go to Judge Wendell Griffin's Facebook page, read his column. I thought it was a powerful analysis. He always comes with his commentary. So I look to my elder, I look to everybody else. I draw the strength from my ancestors, and we just need to have more conversations like this. Thank you, Kevin, for this. Scott,
Dr. Jones,
always.
Dr. Jones, tell us how we can get in contact with you, and also tell us about where they can find your book at as well too.
Say that one more time.
Tell us how they can get in contact with you, but also tell us where they can find your book at as well too. the purgatory of
Okay, yeah. So yeah, you can DM me on Facebook. My profile is Joseph L. Jones. You can email me at josephleronjones@gmail.com. That's JOSEPHLERONJONES. The first podcast Kevin and I did was about a book I wrote years ago called Purgatory of Consciousness, Black Politics in the Age of Obama, where in many ways I predicted these things almost 10 years ago. When I was using white nationalism and 10 years ago, and in fact, there's a piece in there that I wrote to the Arkansas Times that they didn't publish because I used the word white nationalism because they thought it was too, I'm assuming they thought it was too racy at the time. But it was clear in my mind that that's exactly what we were seeing, back in 2014 and 15. So, but yeah, I'm available. Love to talk to anybody who wants to chat. And thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and where you say you can get the book at?
Amazon. You can go by Garborough's place and Pyramid Bookstore. Support Black businesses.
And what's the name of that book again?
Purgatory of Consciousness: Black Politics in the Age of Obama.
Man, and when I tell you, me and my wife read that book. I bought the book. She read it before me. She had a long conversation. She tried to make herself seem like she knew Dr. Jones. I've been knowing Dr. Jones forever. Like, it was a brilliant book. I think everybody should grab one of those books. And not only when you grab it, make sure your kids get one of those books. They kind of give you the head start, so you won't have to start at the bottom of just educating you about this black politics. Man, it was a powerful book, and I appreciate it. And Brother Scott Hamilton, tell us how to get in contact with you, because I want to make sure that they know how to get in contact with you moving forward.
Yeah, and I appreciate it again, Kevin. Again, thank you for pulling this together. Easiest way to get me is just go to our website, the Urban League website, which is ulark.org, ulark.org, urbanleaguearkansas.org, and you'll see information there. You can send me an email. My email is on that, and it's the easiest way to find it, because otherwise I'm giving you a long email that you'll never remember. But ulark.org, reach out to us. I mean, tell us what you feel, what you think. My cell phone number is 501-247-6132. You can call me anytime. Everybody and mama got that number, so might as well write it down. But I want to, right now, I'm sending an email to Bob Ballinger right now about Senate Bill 2459, and it's 3 lines. I just like, hey, I'm concerned about it. I want to talk to you about it. Here's my contact. That's all you gotta say. I'm gonna send it to them about 500 times. But again, reach out to us at the Urban League. You're going to see us real heavy in this space. You're going to see us real heavy over the next couple of years in terms of voter engagement. Dr. Jones, I appreciate you sharing it. Actually, I think it was Davis that talked about the age demographic here in Little Rock. We've got to get our young folk doing what they need to do to build the world they want, right? We've screwed the world up for a lot of folks in our generation, because these things have occurred. That doesn't mean they have to continue, right? We need to make sure our young folks know what they need to do, that they're empowered to do it. And I'm gonna tell you that the Urban League is gonna be right there to help out.
Thank you, brother, man. I'll tell you, man, it's just amazing how all this came about, man. And I just appreciate everybody I just appreciate y'all taking the time out to come on here, man, because it wasn't about Kevin. It's not about your voice, your reason. It's about connecting with our people, informing them, educating them, motivating them, talking about different resources. So we need y'all, bro. I'm telling you, we need y'all, bro. And there's no lie. We need y'all. And I know we got a lot of other powerful people on there, especially other more powerful women as well, too, that can get on here. So this ain't the last time. I will be reaching back out to y'all, because session gonna be here, and then not only just session, just other current events, because we need to keep our people motivated, need to keep them informed, man. And y'all voices need to be heard. I'm just so grateful to have y'all on here, and I want to thank everybody that came on. Ryan, Dave, appreciate you for tuning in. We gonna reach out to you too, Payne, Winter Payne. So appreciate everybody for coming in on here, and I just really appreciate it. And Dr. Jones, Scott, Ms. Gonzalez, my boy Davis, man, thank you. This couldn't have happened without you all, and we know what y'all are doing in the community, man. So I look forward, but just keep my eyes on you, man. And I'm just glad I got a relationship with you all as well, man. And I want to thank my guy Kent Broughton, even though I know he's sitting behind the scene, but none of this wouldn't happen if my boy Kent Broughton wasn't behind the scene helping me put all this together, man. He has been a good friend, a God bless for me. And I thank you, brother Ken Broughton. I know you want your name thrown out there, but I did it anyway. Yeah. So appreciate y'all, man. Until next time, man, y'all get some rest. Be looking out for me. And anybody see this video, share this video because it needs to be shared for the people that couldn't make it so they can be educated and empowered and know exactly what they need to do. So go on my page and share this baby right now. Thank you all, and I see y'all, brother, and I catch up with y'all next time, man.
Peace.
All right,
Peace out.
Kevin. Thank you, bro.
All right.